So I'm having a chat with Matt Holubowski. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, yeah, not too bad. Thanks so much. So firstly, have a new record, which is out today, called Like Flowers on a Molten Lawn. Tell us a little bit about the record.
Sure. So great day for me. I'm very excited. This record it's my fourth record. I wrote it over the last couple of years. It's a bit of a sort of an experimental departure for me in the sense that songwriting-wise, I sort of started from the other way around, whereas I would normally have written a whole bunch of songs and then worked on the production, and I actually did it the other way around this time, where I sort of delved pretty deeply into all the technical side of making music, with the synthesis and computer software, all that engineering and all that fun stuff, all the toys, and it was sort of a new thing in my life, so I was kind of playing around for a little while, and at a certain point, I kind of decided these needed to become songs. So I added songs to the sound as opposed to the other way around. So that's sort of what we hear with this record.
And are you, well, of course you're happy with how it's turned out, but with the process having been different, are you thinking you might do that again for the future, or do you think you might revert back to how you've done it previously?
I think a combination of all those things. I think more than anything, just the discovery of this form of songwriting and sort of song crafting is something that I've never done before. So I kind of see it more as just like a new tool within my tool belt. So I think all of those ways of writing songs are good. I didn't know how to do that one before, and I kind of taught myself how to do it.
Good. Excellent. As you mentioned, this is your fourth record. How have you evolved over the years, and how has the music evolved over the years as well?
I think it's aged. It's aged along with me. I think just the experience of playing live made a huge difference in the way that I write songs and I arrange songs and I think about how they're going to live. There's often like this idea of having to make a record that you're able to reproduce live, which is not always, and especially with the added benefit of all these new fun tools that you can use, it's not always possible to recreate them live. So I feel like the big change in how I've evolved the most is just feeling okay with the fact that songs can exist within different forms, and if the song sort of like puts forward the emotion that you want to, the conduit through which you perform the song is not so important, and in fact it's a lot of fun to try to take a song and deconstruct it in a whole bunch of different ways and see if it works in all those ways. I think it's the sign of a good song when it works, and to make it with 36 musicians or with just the guitar and vocals, if it works, then I think you have a good song. So that's sort of the thing that I've added to my my arsenal since the beginning.
Yeah, good. And speaking of playing live, you've had the pleasure of doing some live dates. You've got more to come. Tell us a bit about where people can see you in the coming weeks and months.
Sure. So for the time being, we have a whole bunch of dates announced in Canada where we are. We're working on some dates in the UK. We're going to be coming end of this year, early next year. I don't have, unfortunately, any specific dates to get to the UK, but we're obviously speaking today because we intend on coming out to see you all again. And we have a couple of dates in France as well for the end of the year, and working on some European and North American dates as well.
Good, that's great, and I'm sure your fans will be happy to hear that. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the writing side of things. So what is it for you that kind of starts things off? Is it the lyrics first? Is it a melody? Is it an instrumental? What starts a track off for you normally?
It completely varies all the time. Every song is different. A lot of the songs, how I used to always do it is I just write all these tidbits of poems, all these ideas that come to me randomly. I'll take notes here and there. I tend to craft songs in a bit of as mantras in a certain sense, in that I repeat the same ideas over and over and over again, sometimes for months. And with very, very slight variations. And then one day it's sort of like a door will open in my mind and I'll just follow it in and the idea will expand. But as I said, this record was quite different in that I started with a lot of tinkering. It was a lot of knob turning and, finding the sounds that I found interesting and plugging them through a bunch of different effects and just seeing if I can create interesting soundscapes. And then from there, I sort of wanted to add stories and ideas, and so it was a bit of reverse engineering with this one.
Good. And once you've got your demos in place and you step foot into the studio to record it, how does it go from a demo to a finished track? How does that normally work for you?
It's very labor intensive. It really depends on the song. There are some that we recorded in just a bunch of different places. I rented a couple of cottages that I sort of built a home studio in. We recorded in some proper studios. Some songs we would just show up and we'd kind of not really have a song, and we would play it for the first time, and we'd kind of have it. So we'd record it immediately, and that's what it would become. And then we'd refine or add elements here and there if needed. And then other times it was really like starting from, an arpeggiated synthesizer or just a drum beat, and then, adding elements one at a time. So it really varied. Like sometimes it was just the producer and I, Pietro Amato, in the studio, just adding stuff, trying things. Let's play some piano. Let's add this part here, this part there. And then other times it would be one of our collaborators, Marianne Ull. We'd sort of give her a section. We'd say, okay, you have 20 bars to write, a horn section of some kind, and we want it to be explosive. And so she would take that and go in a room and record a bunch of ideas and bring it back to us, and then we would have proper sessions with horn players. So it really did vary a lot.
Good. Excellent. Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you.
Likewise. Thanks for taking the time.